For a long time I wondered why Islam originated from this place. Why not Mesopotamia, or Egypt, Greece, Persia, or India? They had the more ancient and sophisticated cultures and societies. By the end of this video, we'll have some answers. The Arabian deserts. 2 million square kilometers of deserts with unfavorable environmental conditions. The tribes rule over the desert, but the desert's conditions and lack of resources limits the population size and increases the competition among the tribes. The nomads of Arabia had a reputation of being violent, and once in a while they attacked the caravans and they looted the stuff. Also, forceful acquisition of properties and goods were practiced. To maintain order in the society, the Arabs had one rule: blood for blood and a life for a life, and that resulted in violence and bloody warfare among them. Some of these tribes have nomadic lifestyles and some of them have sedentary. The sedentaries, they rule over the cities of Mecca and Medina and so on. What characterizes all of these tribes is a lack of central government. There is no political organization. The chiefs of the tribes were the law. Lawlessness, lack of a central government and a political organization, lack of a judiciary system, a harsh environment which promotes competition and violence. In these situations, who do you think suffers the most? Perhaps the lower class, the children, and women. The Arabian tribes were highly patriarchal, and women could not inherit any properties from their fathers. But after Islam, that changed. Women could now inherit half of their male brother. When girls reached puberty, they were often sold to their husbands. Something strange was sharing of wives between men. There was no law against that, and this shows that women were being treated as objects. After Islam, the concept of marriage changed. Marriage became a companionship, a partnership. Everything that we talked about was true in the women of the lower class, and not necessarily the upper class. Before Islam, men were allowed to have as many wives as they wanted. There was no limit. But after Islam, the limit became the magic number 4. Only 4 wives were allowed simultaneously. And if someone wanted to get a new wife, he had to divorce one. But divorce was not as easy as it was before. Infanticide was not uncommon in ancient Arabia. If a baby was born and the parents did not like the looks or the gender, they could just dump it in a hole and cover it with mud. Here is a story of a man and his wife in Arabia. And at first, they were happily married and everything was going well. Until the lady started giving birth to girls after girls, and the man was just fed up. So one day, he called up the boys. The boys dig the hole, the babies were dropped into the hole, they were covered with soil, and their lives ended instantaneously. "Bring me a boy next year, will you?" But nature could not be controlled, and next year it was another baby girl. The woman said, "I'm gonna do it myself. Stay out of this." And she left. And when she was on her way, the maternal instincts took over. She found the shepherd, gave the baby to the shepherd, and she disappeared. For the next 8 years, she brought food and materials and money until the shepherd died. And this girl, now 8 years old, found her way into the village, meeting her biological father for the very first time. "What is this?" the man asked angrily. And this time he decided to take the matters into his own hands. So he digged a hole and dumped the girl into the hole, ending her life. The man was later asked, "How did you feel about all this, killing 3 of your children?" And he replied, "I felt nothing about the first 2, but the last one was different. As I was digging the ground in the Arabian heat, she grabbed a piece of cloth and kept wiping off the sweat off my feet and my hands. But she had no idea what was about to come." A decade later, the feelings of sorrow and pain won't let go of my consciousness. We can look at Islam as a religion that induced some social changes in the society. We looked at the women's rights, and we looked at the infants' rights. According to Islam, infants have the right to live. Let's take a look at a couple of more quickly, and then we'll move to the next column. Islam did not outlaw slavery, but it did improve the conditions of the slaves. Basically, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, they took the side of the weak, the poor, the handicapped, the sick, the lower class, the slaves. In these religions, people, regardless of their power and money, were all considered to be creations of God. And for that reason, Islam gave the slaves more freedom, more social status, and it asked the slave owners to provide much better living conditions for the slaves. So in summary, we see a vast improvement in the conditions of the slaves in the Islamic world. Spirituality can be the opposite of existential meaninglessness. So on one hand, I can come to this world and not have an understanding of who I really am, why I'm in this world, or where I'm going to. But on the spiritual side, my life can have a meaning and purpose. I can have an understanding of my position in the cosmos. Islam offers a solution for spirituality. In the Arabic language, the word Islam means to surrender. A Muslim acknowledges a force greater than himself or herself, and then he submits his will to the will of Allah. One of the profound implications of this surrendering to the will of God is the concept of martyrdom. So if a Muslim dies or gets killed as he or she is defending the laws of Islam, or he is spreading the message of Islam, then he will become a martyr and he will go straight to the heavens. And the impacts on the psychology of people will be enormous. It will affect how people will fight in the battlefields. Those early Muslims, they were fearless and courageous fighters. So we enter a stage called Muhammad's exhibitions. It takes about 12 years, and I won't get into the details, but just as a short summary, in this time period, Muhammad and his followers try to get as many people as they can to convert to Islam. In this time period, there will be wars between the Muslims and the non-Muslims. Also, there will be Hijrah. In Hijrah, Prophet Muhammad travels from Mecca to Medina to escape prosecution. When he enters Medina, he establishes the Muslim community as a political entity, and he becomes the leader of that entity. This could be the beginning of Islam as a political power. By 632 AD, it is all over. The Muslims have won. They have taken over Arabia. So, something has just happened which had never happened before in the history of Arabia. Most of the Arabian tribes are now united under one single flag, under one constitution, the flag of Islam, the laws of Islam. And this creates a dangerous situation. The two most powerful empires of the time, the Persian Sassanid Empire and the Byzantine Empire, they were not impressed at all with this newly emerging power in Arabia, which had religion at its foundation. And they started causing problems for the Arabian Muslims, and that resulted in a series of conflicts which the Arab eventually overcame. Within the next 100 years, the Persian Empire has fallen apart. North Africa, all the way to the south of Spain, has fallen into the hands of the Muslims. The Muslims control the Middle East and large parts of the Mediterranean. So let's look at what's happening in Europe. In Europe, the Roman Empire has collapsed, and the Christian Church is trying to gain more and more power. It will give rise to the Holy Roman Empire. So the Muslims control the Mediterranean and Middle East. Europe is controlled by the Christian Church. We are entering a highly religious and monotheistic world, and it will go on for several centuries.